to first say welcome in on this early Sunday morning as we prepare for the futures market to open back up tonight, roughly around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll look at after the daily close on the weekly candle, which unbelievably, we're one more weekly candle after today for the last weekly candle to close for Sunday for the month of September. It's absolutely flying by. Next Sunday will be the last Sunday candle of the month. The last weekly candle close within the month, which is astounding. It's just everything is moving very, very quickly. In the time with crypto right now, we're in an opportune area that, in my opinion, unless we get some kind of rally, it's the same narrative we've been speaking of. Until late October into mid-November, I think is the opportunity. We don't know how far it goes, if this consolidation has already bottomed out, or if we have other areas to test still. But I can tell you, our window is closing. It's not today. It doesn't seem like it's going to be tomorrow. But as the month of September continues to close, and we're within now about 10 days of this month closing, which is the most bearish month in crypto. Historically, Bitcoin in October, after a rough September, traditionally is up roughly about 20%. So, on average, it's about a 20% reversal in the month of October. That doesn't mean it's up from where it was at even, June, July, going into August, September. It just means that it's reversed a lot of the losses that was seen in September mostly. August is also a bearish month. But ultimately, September is the most bearish month of crypto. October starts to reverse it. And into November, I would say, historically is one of the strongest months in crypto once you get through the mid-November range. I say it every single year. When you see the pumpkins start coming out, that's when we start to, react towards the bottoming phase. But it's not until, you get past that. Halloween decorations are away. And now you're staring Thanksgiving down the barrel. About approximately 2 weeks out from Thanksgiving is usually when we actually give thanks in crypto. So it's very spooky in October and September. But once you get into November, you start to get the good grace, and then they drop the hammer on us on Christmas Day usually. We all get ready for that Christmas rally, and then we sit there going, what the hell happened? We're opening presents while we're getting liquidated. Last year, it was on my birthday when we decided to have the plateau effect. And we melted up to Christmas, and then on Christmas, they slit our throats, so to say. But with that being said, good morning. 9:41 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Sunday, September 21st, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan, but I've also got a keen eye on XDC and IOTA. I would say I'm XRP Future Millionaire with the side bet on XM and Future. And I don't think you can say can't say DGB anymore. That's what I'm saying. The DGB side, I like DGB. It would be IOTA or XDC. But I was going to say I could even change it up. I like the side bet on XLM because it's important, but it's like the future. You got to find what rhymes. So it'd be something with IOTA or XDC. I used to say, believe it or not, I didn't say future Digibyte OG to begin with. I used to say XDC. I used to say the future XDC, but nobody knew what XDC was. And they'd always be like, well, why do you talk about XDC if you like XRP? Well, and then I was looking around, and it was so hard to buy XDC. And then I switched it to DGB, which DGB I loved for a long time. But with the issues that I had with the wallet issue and being out 2 million tokens for a period of time and nobody coming to the rescue until I found the actual creator of the wallet themselves, I tracked them down. Yeah. So that's a whole big mess. But anyhow, getting back into what we're talking about, I think there's a massive opportunity here that is still in front of us. It's going to take time. If you are watching, make sure to hit that like button. Yesterday, you guys who were in here, you did an incredible job. We started with 52 people and 12 likes or whatever. We ended up working the likes up, and as we got the 70 people and 60 likes, then it exploded up to 140 and a 90 something. But every time the likes went up, we ended up with more people. And right now there's 62 people in here, which is phenomenal, and 23 likes. So if you hit that like button, I guarantee we have half the people have hit the likes. 28 out of 6. No, not even. 40% of you have hit the like buttons. The more likes, the more likely YouTube is to pass this around the algorithm and so on and so forth. But let's get back into this. So leading into this time period, it seems to be a pretty proven track record for crypto. So what we're looking at here is how exactly are we going to react going into this final, not today as the final weekly candle close, but setting up next week's final Sunday weekly close. And then the following week, it'll actually close for the first week of October, which brings in its own issues because you have the 1 billion tokens being released from Ripple. You have a lot of liquidity. You have option closes at the end of months and things like that. So it should be very interesting. And right now, that's why I like to talk about the opportunity. Yes, we've seen some red. Yes, things are 95% on sale from 2021 in a lot of cases. Yes, XRP still around $3. No, it's not over. It's not even, this is not over. We actually have, believe it or not, on the others, I can show you good news. I know it's crazy. We can show you good news. On the others, when was the last time, and yes, we are in need for a correction first. When was the last time we sat on a golden cross like this for this long in the others? I'm just asking. When was the last time, and we'll go back, that the others had a golden cross like this, which the others are all the altcoins outside of the top 10. So that does not involve Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, Tether. I think Chainlink was at 11 the last time I looked. It might have eked its way back to 10. But this allows the top 10. Well, the last time the others had a golden cross like this, and it started in 23 and we back tested it and it's been rolling ever since, right? The last time we had one, and look at that inverse head and shoulders. The last time this happened, we had the death cross into a golden cross. But we actually pushed through here. But the last time we went death cross back into golden cross right here, right? That's around 18. We went death, and I'm trying to emulate it. We had a big push up, death cross back into golden cross, right? So the same thing we're emulating, we're looking at the past pattern. Death cross into golden cross. The last time this happened, and yes, it took a number of years, even right here. Right when it happened, we transferred back across in 19. It took all the way, well, I mean, it took about a year and a half for that to finally break out. Here we finally had to push across in 23. I mean, you're talking about almost 2 years now. So it's overextended. The last time we did this, and it finally broke out from here, we'll be generous and go from over here. You're talking about a unbelievable breakout with the others that culminated with a 1,700% move. That means the others appreciated by 17 times the market cap. So token 11 to the end, increase in value by 17 times. If that happens again, and we have a huge opportunity when this finally breaks out, you start from back here. Right now, we've actually went up 230%. We're at about 140. If this ends up having anything close, I mean, you're talking about a monumental push out. And what kind of movement can this support in the others? And we'll go through the total 3 and the total crypto market cap. And then we'll get into XRP. I want to look at this slightly different. If you're watching right now, I'm extremely humbled and blessed to have you in my audience. Just by upping it from 26 likes to 45, we went from 62 to 77 viewers. So you're allowing this to circulate. I greatly appreciate it more than you could ever know. You guys are like family to me, which is why I come in here every single day. Today, yes, I'm a little hit on time because I like to go to church at 11 a.m. on Sundays. But I also believe I can give guidance before I leave and we can show what's going on here. So this is going to be that layer we have to get out of. And that would push us into the end of August. No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. 2026. Holy hell. So that it could take time. But we're giving it time, right? We're giving it some grace. So it's not like I'm saying this is going to happen tomorrow, which can affect the length of how high. But 848 billion. So just the breakout from here, from where we're at when it eventually gets through, that is 170% on the initial push through from here. But there's no doubt in my mind, we're oversold in the week, or overbought in the weekly. However, we did break a little bullish in the weekly, which is a very interesting dynamic. But I have no doubt that this could still take time. It's just, it's been a while. Nice inverse right shoulder is built right here on the inverse head and shoulders. Like, there, to me, unless this is invalidated, this is what I am watching. Big left shoulder, rounding of the head, big right shoulder. I mean, this looks like a perfect recipe. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Measure this. Huge push out. It looks like eventually that's what's going to happen here. Even got an artificial formation of what could be a cup and handle trying to form here within the lateral flow movement, which would be very interesting. This whole thing reeks to me like we're closing in on that moment. We're not there yet, but eventually we're going to get there, and we're going to be singing our tunes that this is going to be up at 848 billion for everything other than the top 10. So what does that mean going into the total 3? I'm glad you... this is such an enlightened audience. I'm so glad you asked. It's not like we haven't talked about this before. But the total 3, and again, basically I built up the exact same fundamentals, right? We look back. We had this extremely awesome, well, you couldn't even see the crossing here because it's so new. We had a nice inverse pattern. You started pushing through. Now, we had the death cross pull through here in 23, recross in late 23. And now we're waiting for this parabolic spike out of here. It's just a matter of when does this happen? We've already broke over the top. Our technical move we have set up. And the cool thing about this on the total 3 is when it came out, yeah, it's technically had a nice V shape over the top, back test here, breakout. But it hasn't had that extreme movement up yet. First layer should have been 1.28 trillion, culminating with 1.41, which should end up hitting a back test from 141 to 128, to therefore, allow this that next step. And I know this is confusing. I know it's a lot of information, but we're legitimately dissecting right now the movement of the rest of the market. The total 3 now, after being in the others, which is everything outside the top 10 tokens by market cap, this is everything outside of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. So outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So Bitcoin and Ethereum are not in the total 3. It's everything outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So in that case, XRP commands over just about 10% of the rest of the market cap. So 1 out of every $10 out of every token from 3 to infinity goes to XRP. Kind of cool when you think about it like that, right? So we look at this, and obviously in the daily we broke bearish. We're at the neutral area, so unless we want to have a full out reconsolidation here, which I think is going to happen, I think with what's happening with the rest of crypto and all of crypto, I think it makes a lot of sense to have a consolidation. On the weekly is so overbought right now that it would make sense to just kind of kick people in the teeth right now when they're all thinking that it's just going to go infinity, and then have that nice pull down. And it's what we've started since the rate cut, but I think it's going to culminate with more. It's like if I was a betting man, I would say maybe we have put in these rising channels. These rising wedges. And we're just about to pay the piper because we're starting to come onto the bottom side of them. And like, if you don't know what I mean, like a rising wedge. It's exactly how it sounds. Now, you could argue that it's a rising triangle, and I will allow you to fight that to the death. I'll also let you fight that even if it's bearish. It can come all the way up to 1.16. No argument for me. But if it is a rising wedge, or a rising wedge, we have to at least understand what that means. So if it's a rising triangle, fan-fucking-tastic. Because then we can say, okay, Rising triangle. Eventually it'll get up here. We should break out. If it comes to the end, it almost matches up perfectly to the next resistance. But we also like to have all of our ducks in a row. And this is where I throw a lot of people off, but I don't care. I would rather you have all the information. If it breaks down, let's say, well, then you got to know the difference. And then the beauty of knowing the difference is if it takes one route or the other, you can sit here and go, okay, it held support here, which means it didn't break down to 1.09 as of yet. Probably has to come back up to at least minimum 1.16 trillion. Understanding if there is a breakout to the top side, it would go up to 1.23, which makes sense because that's the next pattern resistance. At least close to it, up at 1.28. So it makes sense. Don't look at the yellow line because that's just me drawing. But that orange line is very important. So it does make sense. The lower boundary when it broke out of here technically had a target up at 1.28. That's where that comes from. And you can see the lateral move that starts to transcend itself as we go on. Now, obviously, if this broke out here and it never had to come back through, this is going to be slightly higher than 1.41 overall. It's going to be 1.44. So, just things to be aware of here. But this is what it looks like above and below. Now, we can get rid of this. We can get not rid of this. But if it comes back down, understand it's going to be somewhere around here. So this is how we start to dissect the market right now. This is what you want to do. You want to be able to go from one to the next. And you don't necessarily need to go to your individual token. You start out with all of crypto. Starting from the basics. The others. So we dissected that and understand it. Now we understand the total three, which is everything outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now we go to the total crypto market cap, which is everything. And the total crypto market cap is breaking up out of that formation. It stayed on the uptrend. It's continued to back test it. And as long as we stay up above in real time, but we can also look at what we're seeing above us as well. We're going to want to stay up here. However, if we come below that, we could see some depreciation here. I almost feel like when you look at this a little bit deeper, it has something a little more strategically set up here for the total three if you just allow it with what it's showing us across the board. I do feel like it's the best way to look at this. Probably like this. Because then you can actually see if it's back. Look how perfect that is. If it's an actual back test or it's going to be a breakout in the total. Oh, I love that so much. And then I kept the uptrend going through just in case. I don't hate that. Now, what I might like a little bit more is to come up to the top of the wick. And since we do have the evidence, put the pressure on. Oh, yeah. Why not put the pressure on since we have the evidence? Let's put the pressure on. So now that's what we're looking at. We got to get through there. It gives you a better understanding of why we haven't just broke out. So we got to get down to the uptrend, which is about 3.86 trillion. So that's something we got to get past. Hey, buddy. Come here. Here, Chrissy Daddy. Come here. You want to come out of here? Tommy came out here just saying hi. Come here. Chrissy Daddy. Yeah? You want to come over here? You want a snack? Here, I'll get you a snack. Which one do you want? You want these? I'll get you these. I'll go get you. I'll go get you. You over in the room, City. You over in the room. I'll change the batteries. I think he used this to that.
Get him his veggies from?
Yep. I think he might need a little more water soon. He's been drinking good. Alright, sorry about that, everybody. I'm back. The tea comes first. Let me say hi to a few of you after we get done with this. So, that's what we're looking at here if we end up having a rising wedge here or some crap that we have to pay attention to. And then it would very much bring us probably back down to here at some point. It could be a big drop, or it could be a little drop. We don't know. If the rising triangle plays out, though, if that's not a wedge and it's actually a triangle, because it back tested, nice inverse head and shoulders back test, our next level up is going to be almost $1 trillion. Like, that move is a big fucking move. It's a big move. It's a big move. Wow. 17 people left while I was helping my son. Pretty much sums it up. What can you do for me now? Impatient. Let me say hi to you, and then we'll go into XRP since we're very patient here. Frankie Fresh, welcome in along with Crazy Pulling the Cannabis Podcast. Thank you all for being part of Tom's Arm for 6+ months with the XRP Predictor. Parker, good morning. Big Dog, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. Wales, Josie Wales, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So Bad. Arichi Farms and Frankie Fresh, along with Janine, I know if you're watching right now, thank you all for being in Tom's Army for 6+ months with the XRP Predictor. Janine is Frankie Fresh's significant other, or Frankie Fresh's Janine's significant other, however you want to phrase it. 2460 Joe, welcome in. Nobody says it's going to technically stay until November, but we've often had very strong mid-November. So I've been pointing to that all year. So hopefully it'll play true. Maybe before even. Bob Burtner, Mosey here, and Mark Casson, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Walter, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your second month with the Dusty Dottos Crypto News. Loves my Christmas humor. I love it. Mr. Tully, good morning. He's had some interesting episodes. You've been in some precarious predicaments here in the new season, Mr. Tully. I can understand why you want to get high. Rick, welcome in, and thanks for being a very trusted mod in here, my friend. I really appreciate it. Potsy, good morning from New York City. Rick says, yes, smash the likes, also subscribe and support the stream. Oh, I appreciate that. Yes, indeed, it definitely helps. Jay Freemix, welcome in. Dan Marginau, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your second month with the Dusty's Outhouse Crypto News. Mike Oxmouse says, hey there, XRP Future Millionaire family. Another bright Sunday here with Tom. Always a great way to start the day. I'm not wearing any underwear. Hey, sometimes it's nice to go free as the Lord made us, right? I hope you have a blessed Sunday, Mike. I'm glad you're here. Frank, let's see. Dennis Smith, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your second month with the Dusty's Outhouse Crypto News. Mark Powell, good morning. Says, I really appreciate your information, especially your realistic approach. You call it as you see it. Much respect. That's all I can do. I mean, I could do a lot more, but that's what I decided to do. 65 people or 67 likes. I'm glad some of you stayed, and some of you hit the like button before you left. Randad, good morning. As always, I'm so glad to see you in here. Crypto Plumber 589, thank you so much for being in Tom's Army for your second month, or 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. Randad, thanks for being in Tom's Army. Forgot to say, but it for over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands badge. Baltimore, good morning. Baltimore Xanax, I should say, good AM to you, my friend. Always use a fresh, clean towel. That's right. That's right. Poppy Lou, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months as well with the XRP Meteor. So now that we got over the total crypto market cap, the total 3, and the others, now we can get into XRP sitting at right around $2.99. Still within the same fundamental setup we've been in for the last several weeks. Right now we're on the breakout side of it, but when I say like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 days now, so 2 weeks. We've been consolidating after this supposed breakout. Now we could come down to 272 as the daily continues to clean, and it looks like we could have another flash crash, not a crash, but a flush. So to say, maybe it is a crash, however you want to phrase it. But it doesn't necessarily lead to 272 because that 286 is very much an uptrend that would make a lot of sense. If I'm not mistaken, I feel like by looking at things, there might be an FVG around 278 in the shorter term. So, I mean, we could definitely find ourselves down there. Outside of a breakdown through this actual setup, we shouldn't hinder ourselves too much farther. But a breakdown below this, it brings this firmly into play, and then we're one skip, hop, and a jump away from losing this setup. Slipping below 266 and finding ourselves in a make it or break it moment with the daily at around 257. We know that I think there's a gap there still at 250. Then it can extend down to 238 with the pattern drop. And then, I mean, you're literally opening up the door for a back test of the cup and handle from a wick level. So, I mean, there's a lot of stuff here from a strategic setup. Why we could go up or down. And why the market could have this big shakeout here leading into November. I mean, it is very possible. It's happened many times in the past. Honestly, many, many times in many, many cycles. So I like to look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, which is at 57.88. And it climbed up very quickly back towards the overbought. It looks like it could have one more overzealous push up by the way the daily candle set up today. But that's very speculative at best. But it does look like we're probably going to have a run up to the 200 here at 58.58. It could even have an overzealous run back up and try to retest this later resistance area, which it did once. The most realistic, because it never came up to 59%, if it wants to run up, it could have an overzealous run up, even if it's ready to go down another layer. And if you're watching this, yes, it came down out of a rising channel. Yes, we're in a bearish pennant. But we do have to break 54.75% to start moving down to that next level. And if you want to see the whole scale on the dominance chart, that's the just 100% to the definition of bearish pennant. It came down on a bearish flag, has lower highs, higher lows simultaneously. That is what looks to me like a bearish pennant. You break down out of this, it does have the apex in the end 2032. But if it breaks down out of it, it does suggest a target down to 8.57. If it were to break up, which is why this needed to be a fake out, which we thought it would be, and it ended up being when it snuck its head over, it could find itself all the way up at 95%, which means out of every dollar that comes in, 95% would immediately, or 95 cents would go to Bitcoin. We don't want that. We want out of every dollar coming in, only 8.5 cents going to Bitcoin, which is where it would ultimately end up if that played out in time. So I think we're in the world's largest Ponzi scheme. So at some point, all ends will meet there. But yeah, so that's big. I mean, we're going through the major ones this morning, trying to build an identity of this market. And you can see why we could have this pull down. Look at the weekly even in Ethereum. It's overbought. Broke down past the trend line, which means it's starting to flip a little bearish in the weekly. Daily's trying to go back into oversold. Would make for a ripe condition if it lost this for a bigger drop. There is some speculation by myself that maybe we're in a head and shoulders here in the short term, or at least a topping reversal. And if we lost 4,249, yes, you would have to come through one more layer still, which would put you somewhere around in this 4,200. But you could absolutely find a scenario where leading into October, close to November, mid-October, where you could find yourself back. Let's pull this out here. You could find yourself back testing, let's say 3,500 area. And it makes sense because look how long this lasted. It honestly, we started this pattern back in 2021. It doesn't make a lot of sense for me to think after 4.5 years or so of consolidation within it that we're going to break out and just not back test it in a real way. Yes, we back tested it here in a small way. You know, we had a small back test, but I like those volatile breakouts and then a huge back test. Like just unbelievable. Hey, we drop off 30%, 40%, and it says, nope, this is our new support. You know, that would be, to me, that's a 30% drop roughly. That's what I'm talking about. That's a hardcore back test. And if you hold that, it's telling you we're ready for this next leg. Like, we've been in this zone for a while. Even with this big back test, sellout, liquidity strike, there's still buyers. The sellers are holding strong, you know, and not selling yet. They want to see this next leg. I mean, this is what you'd be looking for. It's building a handle. It just seems right for this kind of a move. But we'll see. We'll see if it ends up following that structure or not, or if it just ends up going straight up from here. That's the only two ways around this. And XRP continuously coming back to this level leads little credence. We've been watching very close the XRP Bitcoin pairing, how this could play parabolic, but with the understanding that we are still very early because of where we're at with the culmination happening, not even for quite some time, even out of this consolidation. This legitimately lets you hold, let's see, because if I'm looking at this, just because we want to be realistic, if you're looking at it like that, because on my phone, I believe I have it set up just like this because it doesn't go all the way out like that. That's what I was trying to say yesterday. We give ourselves grace. I think that's more accurate. And then from the breakout here in the short term, if it were to happen, I mean, it's still basically the same. A little bit lower. But it just changes the apex is August the 20th. A lot of these point to August the 26th, ironically, on these consolidations from big breakouts. So this is the XRP Bitcoin pairing. So if that's the case, we've squeezed. We are on a golden cross, so that's why we need to. Once we break out of here, it's lining up perfectly. Once you have a breakout, you get a nice strike. So if we can get out of here, even from where we're at, you're talking about an immediate about 55% appreciation with the culmination in the short term being all the way up at 6587. That's the built-in move as long as it holds this consolidation breakout. If not, it would be measured slightly different if we have to go all the way back down to the breakout part of the target. But that's 156%. So there is a lot of potential here. A lot of potential. Now, if you're watching, consider yourself, you know, one of the lucky ones, because most people, I'm not talking about just for my pro, I'm talking about watching crypto as a whole. Most people disappear during these times. Consolidation, not a lot of appreciation, more depreciation, if anything. They tend to overlook the times in the market where it presents an opportunity that will be unlike any other going forward. This is a 6-month stretch where there's an extreme opportunity presenting itself, and only the ones who pay very close attention to the dynamic of an inner working of a pattern end up capitalizing. There's so much good here hidden within some micro bad that makes my head want to jump off my shoulders, because there's so much good here. Yes, there's a lot of bad in the micro, but in the macro, there is so much good that the micro, I mean, if you're in a position, it's not even really worth paying attention to unless you're afraid of losing a few percent. Shane, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. This is almost where you shut your phone, you shut your tablet, you shut your computer, you shut YouTube off for 2.5 months, and you start paying attention again in mid-November if you're a holder. And that's actually what happens a lot. I think that's why on YouTube, this is where a lot of the viewership goes away this time of the year, and then it ends up peaks again in November. It happened last year as well. There was minute amount of people that were watching on the drop last year in June, July, August, into September. But once November hit, oh boy, everybody came out of the woodwork. It'll happen again. Once we get on a parabolic spike, we'll have 400 or 500 people in here during the lives. Gets a little overwhelming. We're holding up a little bit better this time around during consolidation, but it never fails. You know, it never fails. Everybody wants that instant gratification, and that's why a lot of people trade crypto. But if you're looking for instant gratification, it's a problem. 298 is super strong support. Currently it is, but it's meant to be that way. Because once this breaks, you get a strategic drop. So it has to be strong here. This is where you need to get all of that back and forth, because once it breaks, you'll notice as strong as 298 was, you'll be down at 285 and 272 before you can even blink. And then it's like, well, what happened to that strong support? Oh, well. You know, that's just a nice area from a psychological standpoint. The longer it sits here, the more people will be convinced to buy it. If you're not in yet, you got to wait for 285 or to get over 306. That's just my opinion. This is the legitimate definition of no man's land right now. You could buy here and be down 7% before you can even think. Hell, you might even not even blink yet. You know? Or conversely, you could be right up 7% or 6%, right up to 306 to 310 before you can even, you know, take a sneeze. But it is breaking bearish here. Remember that. The stochastic is suggesting we are bearish. We could not hold the neutral area. Got rejected by the trend. And that head and shoulders that I was fearing back here on September 15th, where I said I think this could be forming a right shoulder, it did. And now it pulled down, which means it's probably going to come down and meet its lows from back on September 1st, which should put it down to around 2 to 3 on the the stochastic, which is going to be pretty low. I think that's going to be the triple tap or quadruple tap, but it always seems to find support around that range. So that's just, I'm not a financial advisor, and this is for entertainment purposes only, but I'm showing you legitimately how you should trade this from a technical standpoint. I think it's going to break down probably, in my opinion. I've been saying that since we had that. Remember on the rate cut, I said this is where you should go up to 318 on the artificial push up. And then I said I'll see you at 285 or 286 and see how it reacts. That's what I think is happening. I mean, there's an obvious chance that it could go up still. There's about a 40% chance. But I think overwhelmingly 60% or greater chance that it actually comes down and taps that uptrend. How I think we even created a little gap at 278, so I could even see that too. But I think taking a break, like if I wasn't doing this, it's kind of, remember with my mining stocks, after we bought in January, February, we would keep an eye on it, but I said this is where you kind of have to take a break and you got to wait. Frankie Fresh and Janine, I don't know the exact breakdown, but if we lose 298, it guarantees you a drop to about 287, 286. And then ultimately, if it loses that, then you're talking that 268 after 278. So 286, 278, 266, I believe, is how I would look at this in real time. Let me take a look just to make sure, just to see something. Because I want, actually, 272 you'd have to pay attention to as well. But how bad could it get? If all ends met to the wrong way and we lost 267, it could technically point down all the way to $1.77. I'm not going there yet because there's a lot to have to happen between there, in my opinion. But that is worst case scenario. It could go down into that range. Worst case would be $1.38. I don't think you would lose that even in the worst case scenario. But, you know, we're definitely in that middle ground area. There's no doubt about it. Stochastic has me very worried in the daily. It's just, it's in a range where it should fall right through. Weekly, same thing. It should get rejected here if it goes by the daily. That weekly candle is a little dangerous if it continues to pull through. Especially if we had any kind of 5% drop here today, it would be a problem. That Sunday candle would be a problem for the weekly. So we have a lot to dissect here and a lot to watch play through. It's not an easy answer to say, oh, it's going to go up or down, because even when it is going up or down, that's not just going up and down. There's a lot going on here. Do I wish there was more than 80 people? Sometimes in this time, I wish there was the 500, and I wish when it was going parabolic, it would be 80 people. I'm being honest. This is the time I wish there was 2, 3, 4, 500 people watching. And then when there are 2, 3, 4, 500 people watching, I wish there was only 80. Even though 80 is not a small amount, believe me, it's a lot of people. Because last time we were in the same flow 1 year ago, we had about 45, 50 people. So I acknowledge there's been a 40 to 50% increase in viewership in the bear cycle of the moment, which is good to see. That means that a lot more people are staying interested. But it's hard when there's 300 to 500 people when it's already pushed up 50, 70, 100, 4, 5x because they've missed it. And it sucks. Right now it's cool. We have 80 people watching, 79 people watching, and 80 likes. That's incredible. It's incredible. After everybody left down to 59, 60 people when I helped my son, 20 people. Oh, whoa. I thought I misread that just now. George, thank you for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years with the XP 589 Moon Badge. But George, a $100 donation. I swear to you, that's more donations than that one donation that I've got the last, I think, 2 weeks combined in super chats. That's crazy, unbelievably generous. I'm being serious. Like, that is a super generous. That's unbelievable. Thank you so much for that. Wow. It's generosity that like that allows me to do the pay it forward mentality here since I started March 24th of 2021. It's a motto I don't want to break. And generous, oh man, wow. He says, hi Tom, wish you the best. Likewise, George. Could you take a quick look at RVN? Thinking of doubling down at this level. RVN, I don't know what that is, but I can certainly take a look at it. Now, are you talking about in the stock market? No, you could be talking about crypto, though. I'm going to say this is for crypto, George. Ravencoin, yep. Okay, that makes sense. I've actually heard of Ravencoin. Ooh. Honestly, you're on the right track here. That's a deep... Watch this. All right, we're going to have to be very careful here, but we can look at this from the wick. No, you're on the right track here. I can see why you're looking to double down. Watch this. This entirety of this trend, it stood out to me right when I opened this up. Look at that. And yes, that's just from when you go back in the pattern, how that's set up. But now when you go into real time, look how this kind of merges. Because it's basically coming at the epitome of where this has to go. Look at that. Look how that resonates. This goes all the way back to 2020. You got uptrend, right? And this little cluster of volume or wick and things like that in the weekly. You hit a secure right here, bounce out, and then it ladders down and hits its support right here again. Let me put this back on. Weekly, massively oversold. Daily, coming down to catch up. So it looks like there's a little bit of downturn maybe left. Because you do have the death cross. You're going to want to see that breakdown. I would say right here. If I'm looking at this, because you have the uptrend below. And this is not guaranteed, George, obviously. But see how it bounced here, bounced out, bounce out. It seems with that death cross, it wants to bounce back and get validation. Let me see something. Because you can't take this and go down to the wick, I don't believe. I think you have to go into the body. Would it be like this? Or would it be like this? Hold on. For going body, we have to go body. No, because you'd have to come through here. Now, I could say that. I don't like that because technically it never popped truly up. This is a tough one. I would say probably I would take the daily through the body. So I'd go wick, body, body. Wick came through, so you're just staying with the body. This came through, but you're staying with, and it created an inverse head and shoulder on the other. I like it better like that. I think. So it's either 1228. It already bounced off the lower section. Man, that's a truly tough one, though. I might have to look at that back in the weekly. Hell, this might be one of the few ones that... No. The only other way you could look at this would be more like this. I don't like that either, though, because it came... I kind of like it... For the reasons I said, I kind of like it like that. Because then you can see support didn't quite come down, bounce up, came through with the wick, back up, formed around it. Came back down, bounced on it below, came through, back on it, bounced up, back through, came down to there, bound. So it's basically using that as a make it or break it for support resistance. George, all I would say is make sure it's... looking at it this way, it's above 132. If it's below 132, and obviously this is just... Whoops. This is looking at it in the moment. I don't know much about it with the history or the volume or token supply. But that's a 30% differential right there. So, see the smaller time. I see a... honestly, this looks like it got rejected here and it put in a bear flag. In the smaller time frame. I could be wrong. But I'd definitely be seeing how this plays out. Like, maybe see if it comes down here at down to 1. I would definitely be looking to see how this plays out. It doesn't hurt you at all to wait for it to go to 132 and double down from there. It's only a few percent. But I'd much rather make sure that it's on top of that little area. Yeah, it's about 4% or whatever. But by being aware of that area, that could very well save you anywhere from... Whoops. 7 all the way to potentially 20%. I'm going to keep an eye on this one for you, I think. I'm curious to see how this plays out going forward. Did I pick the right one or did I? Yeah. I'm curious, George. Nope, 30% downside is a nothing burger. And as long as it held that consolidation, you can see, George, the reason I wanted to depict that so strongly on that down support is because you can literally go all the way back here, and I know it looks a little jank in the weekly, but it should be something right there. So it's a little bit lower, but right there. See how this weekly, and yeah, you have a wick down, but you had this weekly, came back down, melted to this weekly where it hit this. So that's your potential. I mean, it's not a great downside. I mean, yeah, 20, 25, 30%. But as long as it stays over the top, if it can get back... I mean, there's some big potential here. I agree. There's a lot of potential here. What's it look like in the monthly? Yeah, there's a lot left here in this pattern, but I can see why you are thinking about it. Just get that clarity first is what I would say. But I mean, yeah, it's obviously it's getting close there. It's getting closer. So it started getting some listings this year. BitGap, Bitmart. None that are good for the USA, but still getting listings. Hope that helped, George. As XRP sliding below 298 here. But yeah, I'm gonna end this live. I gotta get ready for church. I'm gonna leave here in a couple minutes. I want to go make sure my son's doing good. I'm glad you guys were in here. If you want to copy trade with me with IOTA when I start it, make sure you join WEEX. It's in the comments below of this very live, pinned comments. And when you go into there, search me on copy trading, and there's a... Make sure you T-Speak a 222. But if you want more information, if you're in Tom's Army, make sure you join the exclusive Telegram. There's a whole section guiding and all this other stuff. And make sure if you are copy trading, I put a warning out. You're not sending me anything. It's literally staying in your account and you're just linked to my copy trade. There's no transaction from your account to mine. So if somebody's claiming that, you're being scammed. Period. If it's not on WEEX, you're being scammed. Period. If it's on WEEX and they're telling you to send money to their WEEX account, it's a scam, period. Have a blessed day, everybody. I'm going to go spend some time with the Lord, pray for all of us, this community, and everybody else. And, you know, give grace. Stay humble, show humility, try to help each other out. And if you have information that is deathly needed for others, and it's not something you need to make gain off of, pay it forward. It'll come back 10 times, I promise, tenfold. It happens. It happens. Be blessed, everybody.